Great to see you back on here, though. But let's see, where are we going to start? Real quick, give me a thumbs up if you guys were on the call last week. I just want to see how many people kind of got the basis, the foundation. Okay, those that are on camera were about half. I can't tell the ones that aren't on camera on it. But we started this little series last week. We got talking about, it stemmed from a big conversation that Roger and I had when we were on trail. And I threw this piece out to everybody that was on the call. And I said, one of the biggest areas real estate investors make a mistake is in the order in which we try to build our business. And I said, the first thing that everybody typically is so concerned about, you can't sleep at night over it. You stress and sweat and get nervous like crazy. And it's all about, I got to generate leads, right? We operate from this position of desperation. Every day has got to be about, I got to get leads. That's our sole focus on it. And we feel like for some reason, the first couple of years, it's all about just get leads. And then I'll eventually worry about actually building a name for myself, building a brand, building something that's actually sustainable from a business standpoint, right? And then we finally wrap it up with number 3. And that's where we start going, okay, now it's probably time to pay attention to some data and metrics and certain things. And I probably need to grow based on that piece. How many of you guys feel like that might have been you at the start? Maybe you are that right now, right? And I said, what we really need to do is flip number 1 and number 2. Leads, yes, they are important, but what really drives leads is a brand. It's who you are. Business, right, especially real estate, has taken a shift over the last couple of years to where there's a lot of people in these different industries, right? Real estate investing is no different. There is a lot of real estate investors in your marketplace. Can we agree with that? Yes? And most of them are saying the exact same thing, the exact same way, over and over again. It just sounds like a bunch of broken records all over the place. You just replace the name of who's saying that, right? So stop for a second, step out of the real estate investor role, step out of the I own the business role, and go be your customer for a second. Go be that distressed seller. Go be that individual that is going senile, that needs to get rid of his portfolio because his son doesn't want to deal with any of the real estate whatsoever. His son has no clue what's going on with it. And all his son cares about is that there's enough money coming in. And what's what's in their mind at this moment? Stop and think about that for a second. And there's a saying in the marketing world, as marketers, we say this to each other all the time. If you can see Joe Jones's world through Joe Jones's eyes, then you can sell Joe Jones what he needs in the moment. Well, what that individual, right, in that story that I was just telling you, what he cares about more than anything is that his son, these properties, the payments, the income coming in from that is going to be taken care of before what? He loses his mind, right? Because he's going senile at that point. He just wanted to make sure that everything's taken care of. So does he care about all the quote unquote what everybody else is saying? We'll give you a fast cash offer, we close fast, we'll cover your back tag, blah, 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 right? Spew. Or does he care about reputation, image, credibility, been around for a little bit, track record, these type of things? Which one do you think it is? Number 1, cares about all the stroke your ego kind of things, or number 2, that he's working with somebody legit? Or 2. Right, so in the moment, all he's focusing on is this company, is this individual, is this brand that I'm about to engage with, potentially selling my assets to, are they viable? All right, and we started off last week's call with Chris and Sal kind of sharing a little bit about a couple leads that they just recently got. And Chris, why don't you share real quick again, what was the thing about your brand that they keep coming back to and saying?
So a repetitive thing across the board with who we target is the image of we're a father and son family-owned business. A lot of times it looks more like family-oriented. So in probate, that tends to be who it attracts is families. So it's done really well for us, and we pumped up our image on our website and online, more family pictures, and it tends to work in our favor of where we want it to. So it's very, how do you say, anti-transactional in a way. The opposite, looks like a mom and pop kind of shop, but we do have that reputation. The About Us page is another thing that gets looked at quite a lot.
If you guys haven't gone and looked at ohanalegacyproperties.com, I highly encourage you to, but this is the page that Chris is talking about, right? Right out of the gate, there's a strong mission statement that they've come up with. There's the duo, father-son element. Right? Even to this level here, right? This is bringing in some credibility, some substance that brings the brand image up a little bit more. There's quick little biographies about the two in here. And then this is my favorite picture. I honestly think that picture needs to be higher, Chris, my personal opinion. Need to amplify that thing or use that in some other places. But this is it right here, right? Because they spend so much time in everything that they talk about, talking about being this family operation, this father, son, this tight-knit family to it. So this is why I say we have to flip-flop number one and number two. We have to be more focused on brand building and brand awareness and let the lead component come in a very tight, close-knit second. Right? And I started off with this story about the gentleman that was going senile. Well, there's a number of things that I could talk about with this potential deal that Roger and I are taking down, the deal that he's out dealing with at the moment, why he's not on this call. But one of the biggest components to why we got the contract and the 20-something other real estate folks that were going after this thing didn't, when we didn't even do business in New Jersey. Let that sink in for a second. 20 other people, some of which did business in Jersey already, some of which did not. We don't do any business in the state of New Jersey. Matter of fact, I was joking with Marie yesterday. I literally opened 3 different entities yesterday because of one freaking deal, because of a state that I haven't had anything established in yet. But how is it that we were able to get that and lock that up? It came down to not what we were saying, but what the brand feel, the brand story, the credibility that came across really quickly. When this opportunity popped up and I reached out to the wholesaler and I sent him some information and I was able to get him onto a website and I was able to get him some other stuff together and the way that we communicated and the way our follow-up system and everything about the brand, right? The way we follow up, our timely communications, the information, how quick we were able to make decisions, these type of things ultimately solidified it. To where in the middle of a showing, he was showing another investor. In the middle of the showing, I called him. He happened to answer, and he told the individual, "You need to leave. This is no longer available." This is making sense so far? So today I want to go deep into how do we build this brand? How do we put attention into brand building while simultaneously we've got to focus on leads, right? Leads are the lifeblood of the business. You've got to have leads coming in. I'm not saying ignore it, but when you put a lot of attention on brand, guess what tends to happen? Leads start coming to you. They start showing up at your doorstep. They start kind of just randomly falling into place, right? Chris, Sal, you guys have been working on this pretty heavily for how many months? good solid 3 months, basically since you came out here in LA, right? That's when the real big kind of like switched it and started really dialing this in. And we had a conversation earlier today, and it's starting to get that kind of momentum, right? Where people are just randomly reaching out. And they've only done a tiny bit of what really needs to get done, okay? So we're gonna play around, draw some stuff out here. Make that a little smaller so it's easier to write. So brand is our focus, right? I'm gonna actually do this so you guys make sure you see it full-fledged. So who can tell me, what do you think are the 3 areas that we can really focus in to build our brand? Three key areas. What do you think they are?
Message?
You're going too granular. Come up a little bit.
Got to chunk up.
Think locations, think area, think places to focus.
Well, leads for one.
Still too granular.
Still too.
Is awareness one? One of them, I'm trying to remember that. I know we've seen it.
Here, let me help you out. I'll give you the first one. Online.
Media, right?
Well, let's stay right here in the first 3, right? What are the 3 kind of key buckets that we focus from a branding standpoint? Online is one of them. We'll talk what online, where online, what are the different components here in a second. But what do you think a second one would be?
You yourself.
You, personal. We'll go over here with that one. What do you think the final one is?
John wrote in the comments, offline.
Offline, 100%. Offline. Right, there's only a couple key areas that we can really put a lot of attention in. Online, offline, and then us. Physically, right? Who we are. So online, what are some of the key areas that we really should be focusing our attention to make sure online our brand is solid?
Website and SEO.
Website's one of them, right? The web, right? Your actual physical site, clean, functional, logoed, colors are consistent, right? Verbiage, content, all that kind of stuff. Where else online?
YouTube.
What's YouTube considered?
Social media sites.
Yeah.
Social media, right? Social media. Anywhere that our potential avatar, the potential individuals are at from a social standpoint, we should make sure we have very well branded out, very seamless, very consistent look, feel, discussion, so on and so forth from a social media side. Where else online? We push you guys to get a lot of these on GBPs.
I was just going to say, like, search engines.
Well, not search engines.
Reviews.
Reviews, but we're not worrying about the reviews themselves. We're talking about review sites.
Yelp, Angie's List, and stuff like that.
100%. Again, you have to step back and say, okay, I need to see Joe Jones through Joe Jones' eyes so I can sell to Joe Jones. Where does Joe Jones typically get their reviews or look for reviews or check in on things? Is it a predominant area that or predominant demographic that is tuned into Google and Yelp? Is it a younger one that's maybe more on something like the Trust Pilots and some of the other platforms that are out there? Right? Is it super old school like my grandmother who doesn't even go online to look for reviews and instead, you know, hopes that she hears word of mouth type of thing? We got to start asking these questions. And we want to make sure that across from a digital standpoint, right? Digital is another way of saying online. From this online side of things, our branding and remember last week I talked about branding's deeper than just your logo and color scheme. It's the message that you say, it's the mission that you're up against, that you're committed to. It's the uniqueness of you guys, right? Take Chris and Sal as the example there. It's the father-son family, Ohana legacy. Ohana means family, right? Tying all of these components together and being clear about that, along with the colors, along with the logo, along with other imagery. You know, if Ohana legacy is super focused in on this family side, right? And from the website, we just use it as the example. It looks really good. But what if we went to their social media profile and they're showing a bunch of pictures of just single individuals? Or they're not showing anything about family at all on the social media. Is there a disconnect in that feeling now? Absolutely, right? If when their message is getting out there, when they're you know, in their review locations, if people are writing reviews like Chris is an amazing guy, Chris is this, Chris is that, Chris is this, Chris is this, but there's no mention of Sal, or there's no mention of they, or there's no mention, right? Now it's like, what just happened? I thought they were family. I thought it sounds like it's all Chris, right? So being aware of all of that is really what brings the entire brand. We all tracking with this? I can't see everybody, so just throw in the chat if you can, because I can at least see the chat. Now, offline. Offline is probably my favorite one to work on. Chris and Sal and I were having this talk earlier today. I think it's the most underlooked area to speed up gaining business as a real estate expert, a real estate investor, is focusing in your offline side of things. So what are some areas offline do you think we can focus in on or use to help us build a strong brand away from the internet now at this point?
Networking.
Speaking engagements.
Yeah, these are tasks that can happen. Absolutely. Chris, you should be able to blurt these out. We just talked a few hours ago.
Yeah, booths, finding volunteering opportunities with certain, I guess you could say, professionals or organizations that have
Organizations. There's the word I was looking for. Organizations, local organizations, local groups. Those that were out here in LA a couple months back, I took you guys to an organization that I'm very heavily involved in. Has nothing to do, nobody in that room is my client. Well, I'll take it back. Maybe one or two of them that are real estate agents. But for the most part, it's simply to establish myself in a group of other professionals and build a relationship and build a brand and an image in front of them as the go-to guy for digital marketing needs. Does that make sense? So before I have Chris say all the answers, thinking in that direction, what else do you think from an offline standpoint?
John had put newspaper, radio, billboards.
Yep. So advertising, right? The good old fashioned grassroots. Bandit signs, street signs, billboards, banners, these type of things, right? We're going to go a little deeper into this after we get through this whole thing, because this is where I want to really focus the attention into. And I'll talk about how do we find some of those, how do we get the opportunity to put some of those things on. It kind of ties back to organizations, local groups, these type of things. But from a branding standpoint, we want to make sure anything and everything that our logo, our business name, our colors can be on out there is very seamless and consistent, right? And then where else offline? Any other thoughts or guesses?
Possibly just door knocking. Sponsorships.
We'll go with sponsorships. I was going to say, look for like vendor opportunities offline, which also is going to tie back to this up here.
Shawn, you mentioned earlier today about these home and garden shows that are done locally within counties.
Yep.
As part of that sponsorship.
We'll come back to this, but that's exactly what I'm talking about with this, like vendor opportunities, vendor situations around local organizations, right? Now, finally here under the you section, what are some things that you physically can do to help this?
Talk about your business when meeting people. Talk about what you do. Be the real estate guy.
Yeah, your own communication, right? The more you can talk about it, the more you can mention it, the more you can bring it into conversation, the better. But also staying consistent with it. What else? I'm doing a terrible job of it today. I'll tell you that.
Clothing, branding, wearing what you wear.
There it is.
I
Right?
don't
Is
see
this
the
being
black shirt on
recorded?
you. Yeah.
Right. This is being recorded. It will get chopped up. We'll use it eventually somewhere else. But what if I was in front of an audience right now wearing this shirt? What's missing?
Your logo.
Your logo, your brand, whatever you want to call it.
Right. So your own clothing. You know, you guys are going out, you're physically going to property sometimes, you're physically meeting with people. I would be looking for anything and everything that you can, get your logo put on that you wear or have around you. Hats, whatever the case, right? I know, Sal, you love your pens. You're always trying to give that freaking pen away with the logos and stuff on it. But I laugh about it, but it's good, right?
Question relating to that. Like,
Yep.
Is that more so for a group standpoint? Like, what if you mostly meet with potential leads or clients like through Zoom? Like, is it important to be branded clothing wise for that as well? Or is it more
100%.
like it's seen by more than one person?
100%. Have it on. Even if it's not on, right? You guys join this call, and there's people that are our clients, there's people that aren't on our clients on this call. And when you join it, what was behind me in the background? Is that keeping the branding consistent now? Absolutely. And I've done this before. I've had stuff like this behind me when I get on Zoom calls with, whatever, a prospect. I get on a call with a potential business associate or something like that. I'm on our mastermind calls a lot with all of the agencies that we're masterminding with. A lot of times this type of stuff's on in the background. Why? It continues to pull that brand story into it. So that is something that you could do yourself. But clothing is a big piece of it. Guys, especially, it's so easy. Get a polo, couple polos, put your logo on it. And when you know you're going and doing something, make sure you've got that polo or that shirt, t-shirts, right? These type of things with you. and wearing it because it continues to tell the story. Anything else that comes to mind from a you side?
I wear mine to the bar, so everybody sees me with my shirt on. I got a cool one.
That may not be a good thing.
I was gonna say, as long as we're not that guy in the bar.
Yeah, I'm not that guy. I got a pretty cool one on your sponsorship vendor, though. There's a restaurant right down the street from us. This is an idea for you guys, too. They're taking tables and they're having new tops built for them. And they're putting local companies' logos around and putting a QR code on the table where you can scan it and it shoots it straight to your website. So that was a pretty cool one that got offered to us. But I mean, anybody could do that anywhere, you know. And it's just like
a great idea.
Local bar and grill right down the street. It's somewhere we go often. So now me and Jacob's faces are going to be on every freaking table in that place, which I'm sure people will love.
Yeah, that's actually a good one on that. Anything on the you side first before we go too deep into it? Because there's a lot that I want to get into on this side.
You've already got social media over there, but like I was thinking live videos for the you or stories, things like that. Ooh, car wrap, nice.
Or a book.
Your own car, your truck, these type of things, magnets, things that are around you, right? You've got the control over. That kind of ties back to like your ads, your signage, right? That kind of stuff that we talk about over here that's offline type stuff. One of the biggest things that blew us up, house to home properties, early 2012, 13, 14. I had a trailer, an old enclosed trailer that from my construction company. And I stripped off all the construction crap on it and I had it turned into a ginormous mobile bandit sign. That had all this stuff. It was a 12 or 14-foot trailer that the guys took everywhere to all these jobs that they were doing, right? This is when we were still doing retail work. They're going and doing a bathroom remodel or a kitchen remodel or building a deck on the back of a house. And they got to take that trailer with all the tools in it. Well, I wasn't trying to get more construction jobs. I wanted to buy more houses. So we stripped it off and turned the trailer into a giant mobile billboard. And for weeks upon weeks, they'd be parked outside of a house in a neighborhood. What do you think started happening? Phone calls, right? Before you knew it, I'd start meeting people and they were like, oh, are you that company? I think I've seen your trailer around, or I think I've seen, your signage. Jordan, you guys are getting an office space. That was one of the best investments we ever made early on, getting an office building on a main highway where we had control. We plastered the whole front of that building. It looked ugly as hell because it had so much on it, but it got us leads. Again, bringing that brand around. So let's go a little deeper over on this side here. So from an organization standpoint, there's some key ones. I'm going to use something other than green. Green doesn't seem to want to show up very well on the white. There's some really key ones that if you are not actively involved in, you're missing the opportunity. Not necessarily that group's going to give, like they're going to be a lead for you, but you're missing an opportunity to really establish yourself in your market as that expert. And the first one is your chambers. Now, I was joking with Chris and Sal. I'm not saying you have to be on the board that active, right? You don't got to get to that point where you're running for elections of boards and you're trying to be the secretary of the chamber and all this other stuff. But I look at the chambers that I belong to and the members that are consistently at different events, different meetings, hanging out, our different social things, right? Our cocktail hours, all this stuff. They're the ones that the second I hear somebody that needs whatever, right? They need a printer. Well, I know a bunch of printers, but here locally, I know one guy through the chamber. We got 8 that are in the chamber, but one of them's stupid active. So who gets all the business? That guy, right? Chambers are a phenomenal way for you to just get out there, build relationships. You're not going to these events to try to get a lead. You're not going to these events to try to get somebody to invest money with you or sell you a house or thinking that they've got some distressed opportunity. You're going there to establish yourself that, hey, my name is Bob. Here's what I do. Here's what I, live, breathe, eat, and sleep. I want to get to know you so I can help you grow. And you are going to get to know me, and in return, you're probably going to help me grow. And when that one person hears somebody that's going through probate, bankruptcy, whatever the case, who's going to come to mind? Oh, you need to go talk to this guy, Bob. Right? The other one that has always been big for us in the real estate space is the local HBA, your Home Builders Association. Not because you are trying to build relationship with all the contractors that belong with it. It's a great place to find a good contractor, by the way. They do a lot of screening for those contractors to become part of the HBA community, right? But as I was telling Chris and Sal, a lot of HBAs, the Home Builders Associations, they put on different events throughout the year. A lot of them will do like home and garden style shows, home tour shows, these type of things. We used to invest a lot into getting a booth at an HBA home and garden show. Even though the majority of the people coming in there are coming in there to look at, what's the latest landscaping trends that the landscaping companies are doing. What's some, the gutter companies for the leaf stuff. What's, I'm in the market for some new electrical work. Let me go see if I can meet some electricians and talk to them. But who stood out like a sore thumb at this event with their booth when every other contractor in that place is just trying to lock down jobs and all we're there to do is pass out information and talk? We stand out like a sore thumb? Yeah, it was a breath of fresh air when they came by our booth. Because we would use lines like, we got nothing to sell you today. We just here hanging out, wanted to get some information out. Here's what we do. And we would have all of our signage there and all kind of stuff, right? Going back to this one over here, we made sure we had bandit signs there, that if we were putting bandit signs out, where we had signs with our branding on it. We had signs with the different components, our clothing that we were wearing matched the brand, all this kind of stuff, because I can't tell you how many times people would walk by and be like, oh, I've seen this company somewhere. I just didn't know what it was or who it was. Brand recognition, right? But we would build contacts at that point. Nothing more. Here's what we do. Here's how we help people. If you ever know anybody, here's how you can get them in touch with us. And we would get leads, not necessarily right there on the spot, but it's a trickle-down effect. Months later, somebody would call us and say, Keith was, I guess, at some show or something and met you guys and gave me your card and told me that you guys could probably help me with my situation. Pushing that referral, right? The other one, local festivals. Things that are going on in your local market that are like little fairs, little festivals, little things like that. All these different organizations, they're always trying to put these things together. They're always looking for sponsorships, vendors, these type of things, right? Spend a couple $100, spend some money, get a booth. And again, all you're there for, I was telling Chris and Sal, we have an attorney, one of our clients, our Grace Rodriguez. She spends money on just this strategy. We do a ton for her on the online side, right? From an offline standpoint, she will invest in anything that's going on in the local area. For me, it's Chatsworth, Porter Ranch, Northridge, these type of areas. She'll spend $1,000 to be the platinum sponsor of an event for one reason and one reason only. She wants LORGR, the Law Office of R. Grace Rodriguez. She wants that brand, that image, that logo, her name. She wants it everywhere. She won't even set up a booth at the place, at the event. She doesn't even waste her time with that part of it. That's not who she is. She just wants to make sure that her logo is everywhere. So she will pay, be part of these things, to give back to them. Well, what do you think happens in return? These organizations know our Grace Rodriguez. And they make comments all the time on just how generous she is and how great she is and how much she takes care of the organization as well. Right? Well, when people need real estate attorney, trust attorneys, bankruptcy, these are the areas of focus that she's in. Who's getting referred? Our Grace Rodriguez, right? This is all offline stuff. Notice none of this is focusing on getting the lead today. It's focusing on getting the lead when. You guys are all mouthing it, but everybody's muted.
In the future, down the line.
Yeah. When it is due to come back to you, right? Any others that are coming to mind that some of you guys have from an organization standpoint? Every area is slightly different. These are some of the big key ones, though.
And they got bike fests down here all the time. All kinds of different restaurants that throw big bike things. So Fran Hosh, she's a lawyer here that she deals with motorcycle insurance. So she does the same exact thing. They always have somebody at every stinking event that they got down here. So good perspective.
Yep. That's a good one. Anybody else got something unique in your area?
They do like food trucks at the park, and there's always like a big mortgage company that sponsors the whole thing, and they bring all these food trucks into a local like school or a big park, and families just come and they'll maybe play like a movie in the park, and everyone's just hanging out, eating from the food truck, watching a movie with their kids. So
yep. Now obviously that's a big one, right? If they're going to sponsor the entire thing and they're kind of fronting the cash to get their name out there, that kind of stuff. I'm not saying you got to go that big. I mean, heck, our Oktoberfest that we're putting together, you might not be able to see it on here, but our lowest sponsorship level is bronze. It's $100. But that $100 is going to get your logo on the website. It's going to get your logo on some banners. It's going to get your logo on the event sponsored by information that's out there. Going to get your logo on some of the media coverage that happens because of it, right? And that might be another group that I would throw on if you're into helping in this way. But your local Kiwanis organizations, they're another phenomenal one to be involved in. Kiwanis is all about helping kids. So yes, look for the short ones, right, or the easy ones that fit your budget today, but start to think about growing forward. Start to think about in the future. Maybe this year you do this, and then next year you're able to kind of move up that level or two, right? There's just easy ways to get the brand, the name, the message, the image of your company out there in that marketplace. We good with this? Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. From a ads and that kind of stuff standpoint, I already kind of gave you guys the one, right? Our trailer. Some of you guys have probably heard this in the past. You can, pay somebody. Hey, if I pay you $150 a month, would you mind driving around from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. with a magnet on your door that's got all my stuff on it? Pay $200 a month. You drive around Monday through Friday from this hour to this hour. Obviously, you want it to be the person that's in their car an awful lot, driving around doing things.
But just tell them to pay for their gas.
I mean, if somebody offered you $200 right now, that'd be pretty good to cover the gas, right? These are little sneaky creative things, right? You can get creative if you're like us we had a trailer sitting around. Go wrap that thing up. Zana, however, I don't know, Marie, how does he say it when you talk to him? Zana. He's done a phenomenal job with this. I remember when he did that years ago, his Jeep. He took his entire Jeep, and that whole Jeep is just decked out with company logos, branding, that kind of stuff. If I had Facebook open, I'd show you a good buddy of mine from my Marine Corps days. His wife is a mortgage broker. She calls herself the Queen of Mortgage, but she went and had her entire, she loves pink. Everything's pink, 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 pink. She's got one of the brightest pink Jeeps out there in South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, where they're at. And her face is really big on this Jeep, and it's just all done up in sparkles and the queen crown and all this kind of stuff. But she is known because of silly stuff like that. You know, she goes to events and does this type of stuff. She has her little 10 by 10 pop-up that's all done up in pink and everything. And what does she pull in and park right next to the pop-up? That pinked out, just decked out, fun looking Jeep. So be creative on that front. I'm not even talking tax strategy that comes with all of that and different capability there, but it's about getting the brand and the message right out there. Some other stuff from a ads, grassroots kind of thing. Obviously, any offline stuff like postcards, your mailings, envelopes, those type of things. You want to make sure that you're thinking brand, right? Our welcome boxes. Is an example of that. We mail stuff out in these boxes. It's obviously opened up. It isn't folded into a box. But this doesn't go into a FedEx box or into a UPS box or into the post office box. This gets mailed like this. Why? Because I want that thing floating around. I want that sitting on a doorstep. I want that getting delivered to somebody like this. Brand first, right? Anything else that comes to mind from you guys on that front? No?
I guess any kind of like billboard, even like your kids' local like little leagues or soccer. Like I remember Little League, they always had those big banners in the outfield for all the local sponsor ads that would, allow them to put space in the back of the Little League.
Yep. You guys can be really slick, and I mean, this is a roll of stickers that are just REI Toolbox stickers. But you can customize that sticker. There's a huge roll. There's a crap ton. We'll try to keep this kid friendly. A crap ton of these stickers. I take these like crazy to places, and I use them for things when we mail stuff out. But I take these different places sometimes and just hand them out. Obviously, pens is another way. Notebooks. These type of things, fun little, they call them Chonskys or whatever, that kind of stuff. Something that you can give out, especially if you're going to some of these different events, have something good, more than a business card, right? It's deeper than that. Usable. I want that brand to be in somebody's face all the time. So, when we give out pens, and I have boxes and boxes and boxes of these. That's why I laugh at Sal, because I'm just like him. I'm always taking these pens and throwing them out at places, having them different areas, right? A lot of times these type of groups, they're putting bags or baskets together and they're asking, for stuff to throw in there. Here, take a bunch of my crap. I don't care. We had beer koozies that we were giving out for the longest time. Big golf tournament that we did. I think we did, 500 beer koozies that we gave to put in the little gift bag for the golfers.
We do sticky notepads.
Yeah.
With our logo and our phone number on it. So
yep. People don't throw those away. They use those like crazy at their homes. Everybody's always looking for a scratch pad, right? That kind of stuff. These are fun ones. Everybody loves these tumblers. Some of you guys have them from us, right? These are great. You go into some of these different events, you're having a booth there, whatever, maybe have a couple of these. You don't just give them to anybody, but maybe you, give this out if you make a really good connection, or if it's somebody that you really want to, hey, make an impression with them or something. right? Then from the sponsorship and vendor side, we've kind of already talked about that. And Jordan, that was a great idea that you had, right? Those things have been around forever. It's funny, they've actually gone through this. There was a time where they were really popular, and then they crashed because nobody was allowed inside of those places. And nobody was actually using those tables and seeing them because everything was to go, right? But now they're going to make a comeback because people are back into these places, and it's worth that investment. Another one was we have a guy in our chamber that he doesn't do the tables. He targets, like, let's say my buddy Nick. He targets him because he's got a bar and he's got a bunch of people in it, right? So he'll target him with these like things that go. Has anybody been to the restaurants that have those pads that have the games on it and you can make your order through it and pay through it and that kind of stuff? Well, he has these, but he's got them for bars, and it's not to put your order through or anything, but it has a phone charger plugged in, right? There's like a couple USB ports so people can charge their phone on it. It has things that come across from time to time with like the time and weather and some of the other stuff. But then in between all of that, it has advertisements that kind of flash through it. And it was, when he was doing it like crazy around here, it was super cheap to get that, to pay to have your digital ad be part of that. And again, maybe for a real estate investor, the bar is a good place to advertise. Why? They're stressed and they're trying to drink their sorrows away and figure out their life and what they're going to do. And in that drunken moment, maybe they look down and see Building Appalachia and realize that guy's sitting over there.
But the bars in Colorado.
That's everywhere where I live. Everybody's drunk and depressed. That's where we get most of our properties, probably.
That's just because of where you live.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly right. That's why I need to be in every bar.
Does all this making sense here? Anybody got questions on some of this stuff? Anybody want a little inside hack for like the chamber, for example?
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So some of this seems like it is tasks or activities that you can do from a local standpoint. But what if you're not what if your business isn't really local? Like, I mean, I am, but, and I'm part of the chamber and all of that stuff, but a lot of what I do isn't necessarily in my state.
Very, very good question. And I'm going to follow it up with a quick question to give you an answer. You ready?
Uh-huh.
How difficult do you find posting content consistently?
Well, that's why I outsource it.
But how difficult do you feel it is to post consistent, relevant, in the moment content on a consistent basis?
It can be challenging.
So what does being hyper involved locally do for us?
Reviews
on an online standpoint.
Or it just gives extra content, just shows you're active.
Who's been on Instagram stories in the last 24 hours and looked at my story? Because none of you guys are on Instagram.
I'm on it. I didn't even know it was on there.
Last night I was at a Kiwanis meeting and I posted a thing, just a little showing that I'm out. I tagged the Kiwanis group, talked about how I love this group, blah, 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 these type of things, right? So yes, Lorraine, your audience is broader than local. However, does your local people know people in other areas?
Sure, I'm sure.
So don't discount it just because, well, I don't do a ton here locally. I don't do a ton with REI Toolbox here locally, right? But we've gotten leads because so-and-so knows me here and knows so-and-so over in another state that does what we do. It just happened today. Somebody that I know here locally sent me an email with a friend of theirs that's in Texas. Don't worry, Chris and Sal, they're not in Houston. They're more on the real estate agent side anyway. They're more up in the Dallas Fort Worth area. They do about 15 million a year in home sales as an agent. And she's predominantly done it off of word of mouth, and she's wanting to get bigger. So she knows she needs to do more digitally. Well, guess who came up? She lives in Dallas, Texas, doesn't even know me. But it was because of a local contact that's friends with her.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Thanks.
Make sense?
Yep.
So this little hack that I was going to tell you over here from some of these, how many of you guys have physical offices? How many of you guys work from your house? Coffee shop, these type of things, right? Most of these, Chamber being one for sure, most of them have a home-based program that makes it a little cheaper to join the organization compared to the operation that's in a physical building or has X number of employees, these type of things, okay? I can't speak for all of them if they all have it, but the majority, and most of the time it's not published, meaning you can't go to their website and look up, hey, how much to join the chamber of a home-based business? Most of the time this is like, you got to call in and say, hey, I'm a small operation, it's just me, it's a home-based type business, but I do want to get involved with the chamber and I want to become a member. And a lot of times they have special pricing for that. You know, HBA, do you necessarily need to join it as an HBA member? No, but you could reach out to the HBA and say, hey, here's what I do in the real estate world. And a lot of your members would be great people for me to get to know and possibly give some work towards and refer business to. I would just like to be in awareness of different events that you have getting coming on, and any vendor opportunities, because I would like to contribute and help the HBA in that way by being a sponsor or a vendor or having a booth at an event or doing something like that. And a lot of times you can get on their email lists. You know, local festivals, same thing. Find out who the festival coordinator or the event coordinator is and reach out. Hey, I'd like to get involved. I see you have these sponsorships available or these, vendor levels. I'm not necessarily looking to go that crazy, but is there something else that I can do to help promote it for you and also help, contribute in some way? We've done it with media companies. With a lot of the events that we've done, media companies come to us and say that we're not going to pay to sponsor it, but if you'll say that the media sponsor was, My Valley Pass, we'll go ahead and blast that out to our big database of people. Well, if you become that in your market, if you've got connections and you're part of other organizations, you can start to leverage on that to a smaller one, right? But you can also ask, like we've done, that's how we did the golf. We sponsored the golf tournament. They had sold out all their other stuff, all the holes and all the other things. And I said, well, are your trophies sponsored? No. Okay, well, we'll be the trophy sponsor. And the trophies were like, I don't know, $800 or something like that. So I said, fine, here's $1,000. We'll just put us down as the trophy sponsor and put our logo on the trophies that go out. Well, guess what was sitting out when registration opened up for the tournament? All the trophies. So what was being visible from the second they walked in all the way through the awards ceremony, right? Roger and I went over and took pictures with the winners because we're those guys that sponsored that. Make sense? You guys are good at negotiating. Use it to negotiate other stuff. So I know we are a couple minutes over. I'm gonna go ahead and end this